Hello. So we will start at the before I play the music. If somebody or hear the music or something like that, just let me know because I cannot confirm by myself. So today I will try to use Microsoft Team Live event as experimental because I need to prepare for better preparation for the next community of practice developers. So I hope by using this team live event, we can do session much better. And therefore, I prepare very light topic because this is not intent for uh, formal technical session or something like that. Just I will share what I thought about recent issue, especially today in the series that I will try to test for this live event is about skill distribution in Scrum team. So this is kind of like introductions that why we have to pay attention for several skills that probably we miss on the teams and how we identify what the skill that we think it should be uh, present in your team currently. So this is open opinion, so anyone can be disagree or agree. You can leave a comment or QA later on while we do sharing session there. And hopefully we can also record the event. So if you miss the live event, you can replay the recording later on. So let's we start. So what I want to talk about the skill distribution in Scrum team is why I want to talk about that because uh, I think the skill is the fundamental thing that necessary for the team to able to deliver the the requirement or the changes or the artifact that you need to customer. So uh, we can talk not only IT. I think whatever reason that if you plan to using Scrum team, I think you already know that in Scrum team, basically the say is the team must be able to perform the task to deliver the value. So if I take the sample on IT, I already been in IT for almost 20 years. So I start only with title with programmer. Now, if you see, it's really to see again people use or bring the job title as merely only programmer. So many new title in LinkedIn that appear. For example, like you can see full stack engineer, DevSecOps engineer, middleware engineer, automatic engineer, UI UX designer, and many new roles. And uh, I think it's not about the title evolutions, but I think from the time being we can see what is happen going on reflect only by reflecting on the job titles. So in my early career in IT software development, the title is pretty simple actually. We only have several titles, for example, like a programmer if it's newbie, if it's already gained some experience, something like that, we can call senior programmer. Sometimes in you can say complicated project, there is a system analyst, and you also able to hire a system tester as well. And of course, there's a project manager or business owner. But time again, moving forward, I think at at beginning in early 2003 or 2004, software house is kind of like a become hype before a startup. and everybody want to serve the enterprise level. Since in Indonesia, especially, we think as enterprise is only the one that want to spend money for IT and willing to purchase the IT services. So moving on, we see there is a rise of new title with other than programmer. For example, like we show like a combining new roles like a programmer analyst. It's like a combining programmer and system analyst become one. We also have a new role as a business analyst. And in some cases, in some organization, there is also a title like architect. At the moment, actually only the architect and become split as enterprise architect, solution architect, data architect. And with the rise of the SCTP, we also see like a web developer. In the beginning, probably we only focusing on Windows application. Now we're moving on to web developers. And because the web become like a bit complex, now there's a specialty on QA testing. And also probably one thing that already try to handling the database, also database admin. And we plan to have like a production support extra. On the upper level, also there is a new role in the enterprise as well. Like there is a new director title is CIO or CTO. And still there's a project manager on the between. And now in the almost in 2020 or in 2015, I think we also start on in the initial cloud solutions. We see many new role arise as well, like the split of developer, like there is a middleware developer, there's a front-end developer, and there is a title of UI designer that probably is evolution from the graphic designer. And after UI designer, there is a title as well, UX designer. From the tester also, there is an automation testing engineer. Many engineer also rise. For example, like there is DevOps engineer, security engineer. Many roles that happen currently at this moment, that many roles that new. And I also don't put there like a full stack engineer or something like that. I don't know on what in the 5 years next, what is the new roles happen on IT. The last thing is probably the very new role that happened in Indonesia, especially is the title of Scrum Master. That is a bit weird actually, but why I highlight the Scrum Master, because it's like a milestone that there is moving forward from the what we call like a waterfall process to be agile processes. And I think it's natural to be happen. I mean, IT job evolution is, from my perspective, is fall into specialized skill is because there is a process that a bit like a handover due to waterfall that we call. So if you mean when handover is, if you see is like if there is a fire, everybody like make a human chain and hand over like a bucket of water one to another. So at before, when we start a project or start software development, the job process is kind of like that. So I get a task from like a system analyst or something like that, finishing their analysis or design of system, and me as a programmer, I start to build based on the specification. After I finish, I throw to tester to make a test, and I am moving on with another task for developing something. So naturally, all the job become like a specialized skill that only one person that space very fluent in some aspect of the job. In other case, I also see that it's very natural for enterprise to save money, and therefore they create a generalized skill. For example, like if you see title programmer analyst, it's actually like a pay one person for two skill. So instead I hire 2 person, I only hire one who have the skill as a programmer and as well as system analyst. And that's also will happen in the futures, I guess. For example, like actually before we have like a graphic designer that moving on to UI designer specialized on style sheet configuration, creating the nature of the web look and like, and somehow we moving forward to UX designer. Some people say that UI designer and UX designer is different because in UX you brought the context as customer experience. But in the end, somehow in enterprise, I see people tend to combine the skill as well, like UI, UX designers. And some title also arise because expertise or experience on complex problem or because purely on seniority experience. For example, like before we never see the solution architect. What we see is only system analysts that probably already have a 5-10 years project experience involving in many kind of system like CRM, SAP, also like CRM as many complex system. Therefore, for the best of the career, we rise like architect level because the person now oversee every team and decide how the interaction between the system must be happen. So that's all my opinion on the new roles. But I want to highlight that why it's matter to us to pay attention of this kind of title. As I mentioned that our natural of job title is come from the handover waterfall process. It means the title is expected to reflect our skills, which is a bit weird right now because on if we move to agile teams, uh, everybody say that the team must have all the skill naturally to deliver the value. So there's a gap there that I want to bring them up. So what I see before the agility process, the idea to have a IT department, something like that, is because we have a digital product. Whatever it is, what kind of your business is run, in after 2000, I think everybody must have like a IT system. And that digital product is the result outcome from a project. So usually either we purchase, we buy, or we create by ourselves, or we hire a vendor to create for us. So assuming that the project is happen and it's already done, the enterprise think that the skill for to build the digital product is not necessary anymore. So you can hand over the result to production support that have a certain or limit skill that just to make sure the digital product can be supported in the production. And if you have changes again or something like that, you initiate another project, probably small project. And in the end, sometimes in rather than pay the vendor to make a changes, we hire and call it as a BAU programmer. So small changes we deliver to BAU programmer and working with production support. In my case, for almost 20 years, I never see the production support BAU handover with project is very smooth. It's always fail because what I see is the product is never stop changing and always changing. The problem is the skill that they deliver is probably is remain relative constant. I mean, relative constant is at least the skill must be there or can be changed or move forward like a upgrade the skill or something like that. But it will never less than the skill. I mean, for example, if you build the system using a VB, you cannot remove the VB skill to support the production system. So either you do VB or you create another changes like a .NET or something like that, migrate from the VB to .NET. but the VB is still there unless you completely dispose that necessary of skill. So if the skill that deliver is remain relative constant, then then the handover is always fail. I have suggestion that the ITIL or service delivery that we bring, if you have a production support in place, BU in place, for the term of this digital product is never happen. What I see usually in our enterprise or organization level, production support or BU only strong in what we call the core business of the organization. I mean, if insurance, the production support in insurance, business as usual in insurance, we are very strong on that one. But we never pay attention or we never fully invest in totally just to support the digital product, because the digital product itself in insurance company is only supporting the core businesses. It's never being the core businesses. The core business is the insurance, the underwrite the insured, and make a premium on that one. So also in telco, if I see production support in telecommunication, they only support on how make sure their customer able to make a communication or trace what happened if the communication is down or something like that. It never have a production support on the digital product that they use for changes or bug on the system. Usually what I see is either they open ticket for the vendor or they ask the developer in the organization to tackle that problem. So it's never happened the handover like we want to, okay, my job is done and I can put my work to another team called production support. It's never happened. And especially in the new role currently, like in digital product B, in agile system, the changes is constant and the support is also happen. So we said the tendency is the application team who create the system must able to support the digital product itself. How it depends. So if when early phases, probably one team able to support all the changes and support the customer uses, but probably in later on we split the team or create another team or something like that that focusing on the small changes or supporting one. But in the end, as a whole team, it's responsible to their digital product. Now, if we talk the agile teams, usually we adopt the Scrum team. In Scrum team, we focus, there is a three roles there's a product owner, development team, and Scrum master. But I want to focus on the development teams. As a Scrum guide, development team are cross-functional with all skill as necessary to deliver the value. And some individual team may have special skill or area of focus, but in the end, the responsibility come to development team as a whole. Now, what it mean? What I see from the skill gathering on the development team, usually we come up like this one. So the Scrum team, we always try to only take the necessary basic skill that we think is very crucial if we want to deliver the product. So, for example, you will take the programmer or middleware developer, front-end developer, a QA tester, or automation testing engineer. And by taking all this one, actually is already pretty ideal. What I see always is not all the basic necessary is also we can have at the moment. So sometimes actually we only have full of middleware developer. We don't have a front-end developer. We don't have automation testing engineer. And we suppose that the middleware developer able to perform all the tasks. And by doing the task, it means the team is responsible for the requirement, and organization expect us to probably consult or take a secondary support from the specialist role, like a solution architect, enterprise architect, or also communication with production support, and new roles that probably still on the expertise because in the organization who have the skill is very limited. And usually this person is touched in many application team or in many projects. Another problem is we also forgot that the remaining that we think unnecessary skill, but from my point, sometimes it also can hinder us in the long run. So for example, we forgot that we still have a skill as a STEAM analyst, technical writer, or probably also like I don't know, like a security, something like that, with I put as a subject matter expertise. But in the end, some of this skill is always forgotten or put on the less priority because we don't think it as important as well. So why it matters? So I think just I mentioned before is digital product is always live in the production until it never used again. So the skill to support this digital product is remain constant. So I mean to make sure the operations going smooth, or we can hand over with to the new generation, or to make sure digital product can be maintained or migrated safely migrated, the skill must be there. So it's important to us to identify actually what necessary skill that on the basic level, on what is complementary skill that we have to in the team. So again, this is also not very easy task because as I mentioned, if people already start as special skill as like a middleware developer, we don't want to learn another skill as like, for example, writing stuff. We don't in Indonesia, we don't have many bloggers there actually, and everybody only I think 70-80% developer prefer to read the Stack Overflow rather than answer in Stack Overflow. So we often prefer to not cross the rivers. And if somebody also want to cross the river, usually the person also don't know how to cross that river. But the worst case is we never know if there is a river that we need to cross. So we don't know if we need that skill. And what I mean skill is not always the hard skill, like programming skill or testing skill, but also probably also soft skill. For example, like if we talk about like a system analyst role before, system analyst, the hard skill is modeling. You have to able to model some idea to be understood by your peers, like a developer or another system analyst. Therefore, you learn UML. But the soft skill as well is you need have a good interpersonal skill with business user, understand the business user on their perspective to confirm the requirement or the requirement gap that you may find. So the way to identify this skill, I always say that there's a 1-2 method or many methods, but I always say that one method that I think better for me is I call it market of skill. So this is a technique that mentioned in book of coaching agile teams by I forgot the Lindsay or something like that for Scrum Master, but it also practices by several other Scrum Master as well. You can see on the link in the screens. And in Allianz is we already use it actually in some team by Ritu. So I hope this kind of method you can use on your team to identify the skill gap. Now, identify the skill is already done, and you already know who have the skill, who doesn't have the skill. But we also talk about skill distribution. Why I talk about this skill distribution is just in case like today, we cannot work on office. We have to work in home, but our services is always up. Uh, but at the time being, when there is a need for our team support, some member probably cannot attend or cannot deliver the task. And if we see the skill is not happen in another team member, it can hinder the support. We do it in our system, like we do cluster application right now to have a high availability. And I think skill distribution is also to make sure that our business continuity is remain strong. So before we define how we distribute the skill, actually organization have two ways to retain the skill. So the first method is always grow from within. I mean, we scale up the skill by dual training chance, by giving training to certain employee for all, not only one. Usually we give 2 or 3 people at least for certain skill, or we make a role changes. We adding some changes on team roles and add more skill there and put as well the training or learning experience. And also we see like a distributed skill like rotation or something like that we can discuss later on. The another thing the organization always can be have to retain the skill is by get from the market. For example, if somebody left, the organization always think that we can find from the market by job opening, or we do another requirement to complement the current skill that we have. So the message here for us is, as an IT worker, adapting is crucial for this century. So I think we already see that some old skill fade away, and but we have optimistic that new skill grow and will be demanding. So if you already have the skill to make sure the distribution of skill, basically what I want to say is always define the basic skill and learn together. The basic skill is the necessary skill that have to be performed so the team can be delivered the value. For example, like ability to reading code, understanding the standard modeling, or probably also able to present the stuff. So why it should be there's a basic skill that everybody can be done, because I like there's a in military there's a marine doctrine that every soldier is rifleman. So for the basic skill, if somebody is can be perform the task, other can back up and close the gap. We cannot close all the gap, but at least for the functionality, other member can do perform the task as well. The second task to scale up the skill, usually you can make a rotation function. For example, like writing stuff. Not everybody can write article that easy to understand. You can see our Confluent. You can Google and you can explore our Confluent, and you see many articles that confuse you. And also probably in communication as well. You see, right now the tendency we always meet with business user is always we put on the business analyst or on the product. Sometimes we put always the senior member that a company product owner or business analyst just in case to tackle the technical aspect. But I think just to make sure every member can have the equal chance, we can make some rotation on that function. But make a rotation without do a mentor-mentee system, for me, it's like a suicide. So just for example, if I hire a new guy and basically he's very expert on the middleware developer, but I expect him he can do make a requirement gathering as well and explore the possibility of solution. I expect him to get the meeting with PO, to have a requirement gathering session. If you as a senior member cannot accompany him or her and give example how to make a communication with business user or something like that, you will see some trouble there later on. And mentor and mentee is ensuring the safety on learning experience. So by accompany the mentee, you give a safe feeling that okay, I can learn and I can make a mistake, and it's fine. The last is team rotation. Sometimes you will feel bored on certain teams and you need to gain new experience, or you want to or on the other side, we in the organization level show that you need to distribute the skill. We can do like a team rotation as well. Team rotation is not always bad. Team rotation actually good. So you can work with multiple teams, get the know of other teams and how to work with them, and see the positive or the negative that you can learn to improve, and it also affect the organization in the long run. So that's all. I think my my sessions. And okay, sorry, and thank you.